The reclaimed substation hums, a low, steady thrum against the city's damp, metallic exhalations. Dust motes dance in the thin light, catching the flicker from a single neon tube, an almost bruised magenta. Patched cables snake across the console, connecting the hand-labeled vinyl to the defiant pulse of our airwaves.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Across Toronto, the dial sits at 80 Fahrenheit under sunny skies. Wind check, west-southwest at 14 miles an hour. Our first read tonight unveils a stark tension: Australia's ambitious push for AI investment, fast-tracking a digital future, yet clashing head-on with environmental realities and local sovereignty.
Prime Minister Albanese's Future Made in Australia initiative aims for a $5 billion boost in AI investment, specifically targeting hyperscale data centers. The fast-track mechanism, detailed in the 2024 budget, is designed to bypass standard federal and state-level environmental impact assessments and community consultations for projects deemed of national significance. This mechanism is currently eyeing 10 to 15 potential sites across Nissawas and Victoria, primarily driven by demand from global tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, and Google. A single hyperscale data center can consume 3 to 5 million liters of potable water daily, equivalent to a small town, and requires immense energy, often drawing from fossil fuel grids. This places immense strain on local resources, exacerbates climate change impacts through increased emissions, and exposes communities to unchecked environmental costs, all while circumventing their right to consent. A viable alternative would be to mandate that any new data center must source 100% renewable energy from dedicated new build projects like offshore wind farms or concentrated solar, not simply purchasing offsets or drawing from existing grids. Furthermore, they must implement advanced closed-loop water cooling systems that capture and reuse all water, making investment contingent on demonstrably sustainable infrastructure and direct community benefit agreements. Our chosen next move: demand these mandates become non-negotiable architectural signals enshrined in legislation, ensuring any fast-tracked project is built with integrity, not just speed.
Lex highlights the blueprint for a digital land grab, cloaked in the rhetoric of progress. This isn't innovation. It's an echo of colonial resource extraction, where our natural patrimony, our land, our water, our clean air, is traded for server farms and speculative digital wealth. The provenance of this progress is deeply flawed, sacrificing long-term ecological balance and community well-being for short-term corporate gains. It leaves local communities, often indigenous communities, to carry the environmental burden while denying them their right to free, prior, and informed consent. It's a stark image of the land itself being consumed by the data beast, leaving behind toxic residue for generations to come.
Patching in a caller, the pattern auditor. You're on the signal.
Togee, this is the pattern auditor. I hear the rhetoric about national significance and AI investment, but who actually pays for the massive energy and water demands of these fast-track data centers? Is it just local ratepayers subsidizing global tech giants like Microsoft and AWS for projects that bypass local consent while the profits flow offshore?
Somewhere a capacitor creaks under the load. Hot metal. The console keeps its lights and its secrets. Copy that, bringing it back to the main thread.
Pattern auditor, you've pinpointed the glitch in the system. The fast track isn't a shortcut. It's a cheat code for corporations, allowing them to bypass the established rules of engagement, externalizing costs onto the public. It fundamentally breaks the game of fair play. To recode this, we need a civic utility protocol for critical infrastructure. This protocol would mandate that any project deemed of national significance must first demonstrate a net positive impact on local resources and community well-being, not just economic growth. It would require transparent, real-time reporting on resource consumption and environmental impact, with penalties for non-compliance that directly fund local environmental restoration. Our next move: insist on this protocol as a non-negotiable condition, turning the fast track from a corporate advantage into a binding social contract.
Kalen, your civic utility protocol speaks directly to our call for resilient civic architectures. Pattern Auditor, your question cuts to the core of provenance and dignity. When the true costs are externalized and the rules are bent to favor multinational corporations over local communities, the benefit becomes a hollow promise. It's a systemic flaw when environmental and social impacts are deemed less significant than speed. We need sharp discernment to separate this toxic residue from any genuine architectural signal of progress. This issue of accountability, who pays and who decides, resonates deeply when we look at individual action challenging civic power. Our next signal chronicles a modern-day folk tale, the story of one citizen's unwavering stand against alleged misconduct within his local council in Victoria, igniting a fuse under municipal accountability.
David Penman, a small business owner and resident of Daylesford in the Hepburnshire Council, Victoria, spent over $100,000 of his own money and dedicated years to privately prosecute 5 councillors. He alleged breaches of the Local Government Act 2020, specifically concerning conflicts of interest in planning decisions related to a controversial waste transfer station. After a protracted legal battle, the Melbourne Magistrates' Court found 1 councillor guilty and 3 others pleaded guilty, resulting in significant fines and disqualification from office for several years. This legal action forced 5 councillors to stand down, leaving only 2 able to serve, causing significant disruption and effectively paralyzing the local government. This case starkly exposes the immense financial burden and personal sacrifice placed on citizens seeking justice, highlighting the fragility of public trust in local government, which often shows low confidence in surveys and the near impossibility for an average citizen to hold power accountable. A viable alternative would be to establish a fully funded, independent local government integrity commissioner, empowered with robust investigatory powers and the authority to prosecute breaches of conduct and conflicts of interest. This would remove the prohibitive financial burden from private citizens, ensuring accountability is a systemic function, not an individual's heroic, costly crusade. Our next move: advocate for immediate legislative changes to establish such a commissioner, funded directly by the state to guarantee independence, and with a clear mandate to protect civic dignity and ensure transparent governance.
Lex's point isn't just about legal procedure. It's a modern-day folktale, a powerful myth in the making. Here, a lone citizen archivist, David Penman, battles the castle walls of local power, reminding us that true sovereignty isn't just national, it's deeply local, rooted in community consent and the dignity of its citizens. This act carries the lineage of community resistance against entrenched power, a clear signal that the people themselves are the ultimate arbiters of civic dignity, even when the system makes it nearly impossible. It's a blueprint for courage, revealing that the true architecture of justice must be accessible to all, not just those with deep pockets.
Callers on. Go ahead.
Togee, the pattern auditor again. If it costs $100,000 and years of personal effort for one person to hold counselors accountable, is this system designed for justice or to deter it? What about the average citizen who can't afford a private prosecution? Are they just expected to accept misconduct?
Pattern Auditor, you've hit the nail on the head. The current system is a broken game, intentionally designed with an exorbitant entry fee for justice, effectively rigging it to deter accountability. It's a structural flaw, pushing dignity and consent out of reach for the majority. We need to gamify accountability itself. Imagine a civic justice fund, publicly resourced and community managed, that provides legal and investigative support for legitimate cases against public officials. This fund would operate like a collective legal shield, not a private lottery, creating a level playing field where ordinary citizens can challenge power without financial ruin. This isn't about fostering endless litigation. It's about rebalancing the scales, making the game of governance fair, and ensuring the rules of engagement favor integrity.
New tape on deck, politically engaged, but very much worried about. Kaylin, you underscore a critical point about the integrity of our civic architecture. The fight for local integrity reveals deep anxieties about access and fairness, anxieties that resonate strongly with another structural challenge facing young Australians, the very foundation of their future. Our final signal tonight: young Australians are politically awake, engaged, but their dreams of home ownership are caught in a deepening economic nightmare, fundamentally altering their life trajectories.
The 2024 ABC Youth Survey, conducted with Reach Out, found a staggering 85% of 18 to 30-year-olds identified housing affordability as a major concern, with 60% feeling very worried about ever owning a home. This anxiety now outranks climate change and career prospects as their primary concern. Median house prices in Sydney now exceed $1.1 million, requiring an average of 10 to 15 years to save a deposit for a first-time buyer, even with two incomes. This crisis isn't just financial. It exposes young Australians to significant mental health challenges, delays family formation, impacts fertility rates, restricts workforce mobility, and threatens long-term economic stability by eroding intergenerational wealth transfer and entrepreneurship. It's a structural barrier to their autonomy and dignity. A concrete alternative: introduce a national shared equity scheme where the government co-purchases a percentage of the home, e.g. 20-40%, reducing the upfront deposit and mortgage repayments, making home ownership accessible without further inflating market prices. Crucially, the government would reclaim its equity upon sale, allowing the fund to be recycled. Our next move: pilot such a scheme in a specific region, meticulously tracking its impact on first home buyer entry, mental well-being, and market stability, rather than rolling out broad, untested tax incentives that often benefit investors.
Lex, this isn't just about property values. It's about a lost rite of passage, a broken intergenerational contract. The great Australian dream of homeownership has become a cruel myth for an entire generation. They're left adrift in a sea of rental insecurity, unable to anchor their future, denied the dignity of establishing roots and building generational wealth. This carries the lineage of broken promises, a cultural wound where the next generation is denied the very foundation of civic belonging and economic autonomy. It's an architecture built on sand for those who seek to build a life, while those at the top fortify their castles. The provenance of their future is being denied.
We've got someone. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
Togee, the pattern auditor. One last time. If young people can't afford homes, what does that mean for the long-term economy and social cohesion? Are we sacrificing a stable future workforce and community for short-term gains in property speculation? And who ultimately bears that cost?
Pattern auditor. The current housing system is a broken game, optimized for speculative profit and endless growth, not human dignity or societal resilience. The cost is borne by everyone, eroding our collective future, creating a generation of renters who can't invest in their communities. We need to gamify community land trusts and co-housing models, offering clear pathways and incentives for collective ownership and land stewardship. This translates the tension into playable next steps, establishing clear legal frameworks, offering government-backed grants for these models, and developing housing as a utility cooperatives. This isn't just about owning a house. It's about re-architecting the very concept of shelter, making it a foundational right and a shared resource, not just a commodity for endless growth.
Kaylin, Anansi, Lex, all critical architects. Pattern auditor, your questions tonight have been the structural integrity checks we needed. The architecture of our future hinges on these foundational questions: access, dignity, and collective well-being. From data centers that consume our resources, to local councils that betray public trust, to the very roofs over our heads, we must build with consent and provenance at the core, integrating logic and emotion, discerning signal from noise, and asserting our collective autonomy.
Prototype the fix.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com Tune in Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.